tell me a little bit about this plan? Because, this is an extensive plan that involves major productions, and it's going to take course over the next 18 months. What kind of planning process did you guys go into over the last couple of weeks in producing this?
So this was put together by the MPA, the Motion Picture Association of America, and their member companies, which are most of the major studios. So it's NBC Universal, Netflix, Warner Brothers, Disney, etc. And they worked and got together and started talking about how many productions they can bring back to Georgia, and what they have in their pipeline. And so they came up with this very big numbers, which are great. It's great to see that Georgia is on their mind and they want to get back into our state, put Georgians back to work after this extensive pandemic has shut us all down. So it's great news.
Absolutely. And in the report, it details more than 40,000 jobs will be created over the next 18 months. Could you tell me what kind of jobs are those? It's not just production. It's actually also about how it impacts small business as well.
That's correct. And they mentioned the 17,000 vendors. If you look at our film industry here in Georgia, it's made up of a lot of hardworking Georgians. You have from below the line to above the line, meaning, there's the folks that are the carpenters and the caterers and all those folks. And most of those folks work for small businesses that they own, and they're located here in our state. And we're now going to see them get back to work after being effectively 100% shut down due to the pandemic. So it's so great to see that this many Georgians will get back to work, and it's frankly going to happen all over the state. If you look at, for example, there will be a website on the Georgia Department of Economic Development that will show all the jobs all across the state. The Georgia Studio and Infrastructure Alliance put together a book of different jobs and different folks that work in this industry, all the different vendors. So it's going to be folks all across the state of Georgia in all different types of jobs that will be put back to work.
Just a couple of weeks ago, Governor Kemp released a best practices guide with the Georgia Film Office. And I want to know, according to you, what does reopening look like to you? Is it going to be smaller sets? Are there going to be, limited crews on productions?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we're all trying to figure that out. We have the guidelines from Georgia Department of Economic Development. We today, SAG and the different unions released further update of their white paper on their best practices and requirements in this COVID-19 situation. You have Tyler Perry, who's leaked, his production plans were leaked, but he's hired his own epidemiologist, and folks are all talking about how we get back to work safely. So it's going to go above and beyond the base level standards that the government has provided. And folks are going to try to work hard to be able to get the most amount of people to work, but to do it safely, which is going to, it's going to take some work to get that done. So I think it's going to be great, but it's going to take work. It's not going to be everybody just wander onto the set like they used to. There's going to be hand washing stations. There'll be doctors on set. There's going to be a number of different folks that we didn't have in the past. But production's going to be a lot more expensive. But you're going to have smaller sets. I think you're right bringing that up. I think there'll be less people on set. If you don't need to be on set, you won't be there. But there will be a lot of positive changes. People will be back to work, and they'll know how the parameters that they're going to have to operate within, with using all the safety guidelines that our folks are telling us. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that a lot of the training for these folks is going to be provided by the Georgia Film Academy, which has come up with its own training program. It's one of the first in the country to get out there. That will be a video class that people can take so they can safely go back to work.
Nice. And I know that it was mentioned in today's plan that, the Georgia and film industry is really going to help us jumpstart and give our economy a boost. Mm-hmm. Was that a main Was that the key factor in bringing everything back?
I don't know that this was a studio-driven effort. I think it was that they wanted to get their folks back to work, and of course, Tyler has been itching to get more content out there because people have seen everything else that he's already put out. And I think the streamers are having the same pressure, is that we've all binge watched everything we could that was out there. So they're now the effort is to get the good, get a bunch of really good content out there as fast as we can and reopen our economy, get people back to work. And frankly, our creative class, the great thing about them, I've heard these stories now that some of the best things were ever written were written during pandemics and plagues and all these sorts of things. And I think we'll see that again. Some of the great content and creative ideas that are going to come out are going to be developed during this time period. So it's great that we can get back to work.
And since Georgia is the #1 location for filming for blockbuster movies, how has the pandemic impacted our place within other cities like LA and Vancouver? Because I'd imagine that, with everything shutting down, I think that Georgia was the first place to announce a plan to reopening with Tyler Perry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. Tyler was definitely first. There's no doubt about that. He holds that distinction. We are, I think some of the other cities and counties or at least I should correct that. I mean, LA and New York, it's going to take a little bit longer. They're still going through the different phases of reopening. And Georgia, was there ahead of them to do that. And I don't think it was intentional for the film industry or anything like that. It was, we wanted to get people back to work. So that's the great thing. Our governor is trying to get our economy reopened. Our numbers are going down. We'd already peaked, and it looks safe to get back to work. So it's a great thing.
And just from your glance, I know that we're still in the land of unexpected. But what do you think the next few months look like coming into the fall and winter?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're going to see, in the fall, it will be in full production swing, and hopefully things remain the same, and we don't see any spikes in the pandemic, and you'll see people getting back to work in big numbers. That the great thing is our winters are mild, so people can work pretty much throughout the year. And I know they're all desperate to get as much content on screen and onto the little screens as they possibly can. So I think you'll see a lot of production activity in those windows. And people paying attention to make sure we don't end up in this situation again with the virus.
And I know that, we have 2 other major studios, Black Hall Studios and Pinewood Studios. Have they been involved with this plan at all?
They weren't involved with the discussions that were going on here directly, but and there's a number of other facilities across our state as well, and in our city. I mean, we've got Tyler Perry obviously has his own studios. You have Mailing Avenue Studios. You have any number of different. You've got Eagle Rock Studios has 2 different facilities located in the city. You've got Third Rail. You have 3 Ring Studios. So we have a plethora of studios in our state, and they're all working towards the same goal, which is getting production back started in our state. So you have a number of facilities that are all working together with their clients, who would be these same member companies, to talk about how we can safely do that. What are the best practices going to look like this go round, and how do we get that going? And in addition to the mayor's office is obviously very much involved in the city of Atlanta, and I imagine in every one of the locations where these people are, the government officials are trying to figure out what they can do.
Awesome. And, last year, more than $2.9 billion was spent in the state related to film. And I want to know, what's the production that you're most looking forward to, or looking forward to returning to Georgia?
Well, one for just personally, I'd love to see Ozark get back started. What a great show. Even though it doesn't technically take place in the state of Georgia, it was a great production, very well written. Went on the set of that and saw it, and it's just great. But I'm looking forward to other stuff. Disney Plus had a number of things that it was working on here. It would be great to see those things get back going. I'm a big MCU fan, so that would be great. If we could get a Star Wars thing here, can't you see The Mandalorian in downtown Atlanta?
Yeah. And what is it? Black Widow.
Yeah, Black Widow. Yeah, they're working on that.
I was at a party a couple weeks ago. Well, not a couple weeks, a couple months ago, before the pandemic, and Elizabeth Olsen was here, and
oh wow,
and she was filming some stuff for Marvel. So there was so much great momentum, and I'm just so glad that there is a plan to reopen, and that there is hope for people that have been sitting at home waiting for their chance to get back on sets again.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's been tough. I worked with the unions and dealing with the issue of everyone basically going on unemployment in an industry that hadn't faced this before. If you remember when we started this film tax credit program, it was in a recession, and the film industry helped us get out of this of 2008. So it's unusual for us to be in this situation, but now we can look forward to getting back to work and being in this positive position with people working, our creative class back to work, all these people. So it's definitely going to be great.
Anything else that I can tell our viewers on 11alive.com?
Yeah, I think we're going to see, this is the advent of the streamers. Peacock will be coming out soon, and HBO Max and a number of other different content providers. So I think we're going to, we thought we saw the best content that can be created. I think there's going to be just so much more, high quality content that is coming out. And it's great, at least in our state, where we have someone like Tyler Perry, who is our favorite son. We can't say enough good things about him. He's going to lead that, this rebirth of our film industry, and frankly, bring in all these other types of productions that'll come here. So it's going to be great.
I, for one, am excited. I love this state and how TV and film has just become at the heart of it. Stranger Things, HBO Max, the upcoming Ava DuVernay show, all the Marvel universe. And I'm very hopeful, and I thank you for taking the time to speak with the A-Scene.
All right, thank you. You have a great weekend.